Welcome, everybody, to the next session in our virtual summit. With this one, we wanted to change it up a little bit and do some enablement and really focus on 5 things you can take with you after this user summit to help you get more out of your use of Shibumi. With each of these 5, they'll be focused on different types of users within the application. Ranging from everybody that uses Shibumi down to the template authors that are building solutions using the Shibumi platform. And we'll throw in a bonus at the end to help really anybody if you get stuck and you need to ask a question. So let's dive right into it with the first tip around navigation and really finding what you need within the application. So let's dive in straight to Shibumi and take a look at an example program that we're running. In this case, this is a fictitious company we've created called XYZ Software. They're running an enterprise PMO, as we see here. And within their ePMO, they have a couple of strategic programs that they're executing against. They have a business transformation program and an automation RPA program. So the first thing that we want to figure out is, let's say I'm a participant in one of these initiatives and I need to find my particular initiative and start managing some data in it. Well, the one very simple way is I may know right where it is and I can simply navigate to it. So I've drilled into one of the programs, Operation Full Potential, and I may know that my initiative is in the finance work stream. I can again drill down into finance. And then I can see all of the initiatives that live there. This last one's the one that I'm working on, system consolidation. I can finally click into that, and here's my initiative. I can manage any of the information that I need to from these tabs up on top. That's a very simple way of simply drilling down. The other thing that was being generated as I was drilling down is a breadcrumb just above the name. This is a great way to get back. If you ever need to go back up to the ePMO level or wherever you guys came from, the breadcrumb is a great place to start. But the left nav is also a very powerful tool to navigate and search within Shibumi. So let's take a look at that in a little more detail. I'm going to click this first icon to slide open my left nav. And now I get access to all of the options within. So the first and most straightforward one is I may not have known where system consolidation was, and I simply want to do a search for it. So I can just type consolidation. Maybe I know that word is in the name, and it'll find that initiative in the system for me. I can drill straight into it and start managing my information. But another very effective way is the use of favorites. So if I open up my favorites, you see I have none yet selected. Let's again click into system consolidation. All I have to do to favorite an item is click the star in front of its name. As I do that, it lights that star up yellow and it adds it into my favorites list. The favorites is the #1 best way to get to information you frequently look at. If there are a set of initiatives or a work stream or a program or a milestone, whatever it may be, simply favorite those items in the system and you always have quick access on the left nav. By the way, even if it's collapsed, they fly out and I see the favorite, I can drill straight into it. The next one is recently viewed, another really handy way to click around information. As you see on the left nav now, it's essentially what I have already looked at within Shibumi. It remembers what I've looked at and will list it for me over here. So for instance, if I go into an activity and we have some activity that we're working on in this initiative, if I click it, also gets added into my recently viewed. It looks like this is dependent on some other activities are dependent on this one, so I can click into those. There again, my recently viewed gets built up. So it's a nice way, if you remember you clicked on something a few screens ago, look at your recently viewed and you'll find it there. The other extremely useful item in the left nav is our navigation tree. This is where most people navigate around and find information in the system. So if you remember where we started was the EPMO level, I can simply click that in the left nav, and on the right-hand side, I'm showing my EPMO. And we had those two programs underneath, Operation Full Potential and the RPA program. I can simply toggle those open and look at all of the work streams that we're managing within each of them. I can further click the work streams and look at all of the initiatives and the opportunities within each of these programs. And if you have more categories, you will further be able to click and open up and toggle all of them in this left nav. It provides a really quick and effective way to click around and find different information within the application. So that's the first one, navigation. The second one we wanted to look at is selecting a particular item to act as your home page within the application. So if I slide back to Shibumi, let's keep looking at system consolidation. Let's say this is really my biggest responsibility in Shibumi. I want to see this as soon as I log into the application. I want this to be my home page. Right now, when I click home, it takes me to the EPMO. An administrator has set the EPMO as the enterprise homepage. But I want to override that. I want to make system consolidation my personal homepage. So on the left-hand side, let's choose our user. In this case, I'm logged in as a demo user called Jason. I'll click into my account, and I'll see the homepage setting that I have. So here, I want system consolidation to be my homepage. I'll start typing. It'll find that initiative, system consolidation. I'll save this to my account, and now immediately be taken to my new homepage, which is System Consolidation Initiative. No matter where I go, no matter what I navigate to, whenever now I click the homepage, I will be taken straight back to that initiative. Any item within the application can be set as a personal homepage. I could just have easily set the finance workstream, a RPA opportunity. Really anything that I have access to within Shibumi can be set as my own personal homepage. But let's take this a step further. For those admins that are watching this video, how do I set an enterprise homepage? So maybe not every user is going to want to go to the effort of setting a personal homepage, or they want a default homepage to be set for them. So how do I set an enterprise? Well, let's take a look at that. I'll come back to Shibumi, go back to my user account, that sample user Jason, and Jason happens to be an enterprise administrator. So he has an additional link in his account flyout. If I click that link, it'll take me to another area within Shibumi that allows enterprise admins to manage enterprise information. And the very last tab in this is the home page. Now you can see a whole bunch of home pages have been set here. This is a demo environment, and we have a whole bunch of users that access this. So each one of those users has their own personal home page. And you can see that the XYZ EPMO, that's Jason's home page. So whenever Jason clicks home, he by default would be taken to the XYZ EPMO. but anything can be defined as a home page by an enterprise admin. For instance, I may want to set the finance workstream as a home page for a set of users, and specifically the RPA program finance homepage. So I can search through the system, find it, hit plus, and add it to my homepage list. If now I hit save, that is saved, and users will be redirected to the finance homepage. Now, the next question is which users will be directed there? Jason won't be, this test user that I'm using, because remember, he's set a personal homepage. He's always brought back to System Consolidation Initiative. If Jason removes that homepage, he then defaults to the standard enterprise homepage, which would bring him to the XYZ EPMO. The users that would see the finance homepage rather, are those users that only have access to the RPA program. They don't have access to the Operation Full Potential program or the EPMO. It's only that subset of users that have access to just the RPA program that would be taken to the finance workstream within RPA. Now, this gets a little involved. There is some logic behind the scenes determining who sees which homepage, and we've documented that within the support site, so you can always remember how the logic is working to determine which homepage different users get sent to. This is just a simple illustration of that logic and how it works behind the scenes. So, sliding back, those are those first 3 tips. Now we've already moved into a bit of the administration and the enterprise homepage, but let's keep this going. Let's look at custom dashboards. So Shibumi is an extremely flexible platform, and you can configure it to support many different use cases and many different variations of those use cases. The structure that you may use Shibumi with may not look anything like this demo that we're looking at, that has an EPMO with a couple of strategic programs and work streams and initiatives and opportunities. Yours may be completely different, organized in a different way. For all of those various reasons and a lot more, dashboards become a very effective way to manage information within the application. And for those administrators who are tasked to do that, dashboards are really a go-to method. And one of the big reasons they are so powerful is they are as flexible as Shibumi is. So for instance, I can create a new dashboard. Let's do it now. Sample dashboard. And start adding some information to it. So by default, this dashboard's empty, but I can now start adding information. And the very first thing that I want to do is add a section. All the boxes that you see within any Shibumi screen are ultimately what we call a section. And we have many different types of sections that you can choose from. One of the most useful is the view section. And this allows you to view information that's being managed within Shibumi. So I may want to generate a view of my transformation initiatives. This just generates a simple list of these things. I may also want to add another view. And maybe this time I want to look at RPA opportunities. So I can find RPA opportunities in here and drop them in. So that's all well and good. I get a view, but by default, I only have name in here. I may want to add some additional information. Because I own this dashboard, I have edit rights to it. So I can easily go up to the top right of any of these views I've added, any of these sections, and I can click the gear icon and customize it. As I do it, it goes into edit mode, and now I can start adding columns, setting filters, doing any grouping, summing. All of this information or capability is available to me. So maybe I want to add some additional columns. I want to see the activities that are delayed within each one of my initiatives, which in my line items here. I want to see the earliest start date, and I want to see the net benefit changed, and the run rate, and the current stage that the initiative is in. I can add those all as columns. They'll drop them in for me, and it's as simple as that. I may want to reorganize these a little bit. Maybe earliest start date goes over to the left, net benefit change goes to the right, stage goes way to the left. In fact, stage, I want to group all of my initiatives by stage. So I can select the column and I can click the group by button, and that will then group them by the stage that they're in. I may want to now sum the run rate. So maybe I want to see the run rate summed by those stages for every single initiative that we have. And then maybe those stages are out of order. So let's get them in order. Let's sort by the stage name, and then within each one of the stage names, sort by the name of the initiative. So I'll save that. It'll save my view now. I can access it over and over again. And maybe I need to do some bulk editing of it. So I can, again, click that gear icon, choose bulk edit, and now it takes that same view of information and flips it into a simple table that I can interact with. So now I can start editing any of this information, the name. I have typical spreadsheet capability with this. I can click and drag on any of these columns to manage the information. But you can see, I don't know if you can see, but I can see on my screen some of this information is a slightly lighter gray than others. So the name is a dark gray. It's almost a black. That means that I can edit it. Some of this other stuff, like run rate, it's this slight gray color. I can't edit it. It's calculated based on some other input that we're capturing within the initiative. So all of the editability rules that you have baked into your solution are all enforced here. There's no getting around those. What I can also do with these views is change the way I'm visualizing the information. So maybe I don't want a table, I want a chart. This is just simply flipping it into different chart types. Same information, but I'm just visualizing it in a different way. And maybe I want to shrink this, move it over to the left. I like that bar chart. I'll leave that. But I'll make it a little bit taller. Then I want to duplicate this whole table. And let's move this up above and over to the right and drag it over all the way till it fills my screen, flip it back into table view. And now I have my chart and my data side by side here. I can stop editing. And I've quickly made a dashboard that I may access all the time. This may be a way more effective view of the data for me personally than some of the tabs that were available. Dashboards are quite powerful. There's quite a bit of capability and functionality baked within them. This was just a little taste, but there's much more. And contact your SCs for more information about it, or your customer success reps. And of course, we have documentation in the form of help docs to help you build these out. So the last one we wanted to look at was for those template admins. those of you out there that configure applications using the Shibumi platform. And this one we'll get into quite a bit of detail about how, in this case, how to use a relatively new capability in Shibumi called associations to build dependent pick lists. And what we mean by dependent pick lists is if I select an option in pick list 1, it changes the available options in pick list 2. The simple example of the make and the model of the car. You choose your make, and then the model drop-down changes accordingly. We can do that within Shibumi as well, and we can use associations to enforce it. So let's take a look at that. Let's jump back into our example initiative, a system consolidation. In the Charter tab of this initiative, I have the ability to define a region and a country. Let's use these two dropdowns to illustrate how we can define dependent dropdowns. Each one of these is an association that we've developed or defined within Shibumi. So I can simply pull down the list of regions I have available. I can simply choose one, let's say Europe. And depending on which one I choose, the countries will show accordingly. In this case, European countries. If I were to change Europe to the Americas, for instance, my countries will change and only show me US or Americas-based countries. So how did we set this up? Let's take a look. First is defining the options, the list options that we see in the dropdowns. I'm going to start opening up a few tabs up on top so we can quickly jump around. Let's go all the way back up to the program level, Operation Full Potential, and look at some administration tabs we have defined there. If I click in the program administration area, this is where I can see the different regions and the countries that we have set. So for instance, in the Americas, all I saw was one, the US. So now I can start defining some additional ones. Maybe I want to add Brazil. Actually, maybe I want to add multiple. So I'll add Brazil and Mexico. And these are in the Americas regions. So I'll copy that into the region just so we know, add them into the system, and now they'll appear in those drop-downs down at the initiative level. I can further click into any of these, for instance, the UK, and I can see all of the initiatives that have been tagged to the UK. So this is much more than just a simple drop-down selection. It's creating relationships within Shibumi that you can use in a variety of ways. Now let's jump back to our initiative and see how we added these two drop-down lists into the Charter tab. At this point, we want to jump into a template and see what options we have there. Again, I'm going to open this in a new tab so we can click around. And specifically, I want to look at the BT initiative template. That's the template that drives the behavior for our initiatives. And in this case, those drop-downs were in the Charter tab, so I'll navigate my way over there and find this details section with the two drop-downs. If I click the gear and go into Customize, this allows me to look at the details for each one of these. So let's do them one at a time. For the region, let's look at the details. This is an association field. So what that means is it's defining a relationship between two different items managed within Shibumi. It will define a relationship between my initiative and a region. This is another template type and the list of regions we saw at the program level. And I've named it region. I've connected it to the region template that is being managed. And now this will generate that region dropdown where I can define the region. The country is a little more involved because this one will be filtering based on my previous selection of region. In the country, this is another template type called country that I'm creating an association to, but there's some filters that have been defined in my dropdown. Now, this first filter, we don't have to pay much attention to because this, again, is a demo environment with lots of examples. This one is just filtering out some other examples that we're using that we didn't want to see in this example. This second filter expression, though, is the one that is filtering by region. So we're saying the region attribute on our country template should equal whatever has been set for this initiative's region. So if I've set this initiative's region to Europe, then only show me countries that are European countries with the region is equal to Europe. These filters are the mechanism that allows us to create dependent dropdowns. You choose a value for dropdown 1, then based on that selection, we filter dropdown 2. And you can chain as many of these as you'd like to have these dependent dropdowns defined. So now, when I go back and I again pull down America's country, you see the 2 are added that we just defined, and I can make my selection here. Once I make my selection, these become hyperlinked. So I can view all of the initiatives that are in the Americas, or I can view all of them that are in the US. And you can see we have 3. We could start to do math based on the data within the initiatives of the US. And so you can create these subsets of views of the initiatives to do different types of analysis on. So that concludes the top 5 tips that we've defined here. I hope all of you got something out of that. But the last thing we wanted to leave you with is where to go when you get stuck. Of course, you can come back to this video and view it at another time. But there's often very specific questions you may have as you're doing this. And these questions could be from anybody, an end user, an admin, a template administrator, a template author. You all may have questions as you're using the application. So I gave you a little sneak peek of it earlier when we were looking at enterprise homepages, but this is our support site that we maintain. And it is a treasure trove of information about Shibumi. So as I click home, it's brought me to a landing page where I can start to drill in and find any help article that I may need as I'm navigating around and using the application. And speaking of the homepage, I can simply type homepage into the search. It gives me my list of results, and I can click on any of them. So if you ever forget how to add a personal homepage, you can always find it here. You choose personal homepage here, it navigates you down, and there you see the same screens that we were looking at within Shibumi. How do you get to this? Well, let's slide back to Shibumi for a moment. On the left nav, near the bottom, there's a question mark. This will produce a flyout with a couple of different options, but the first one, all help topics, will link you directly into that help site we were just looking at. So if you ever need a hand or a question answered, this is a great resource. Thanks for taking the time to watch the tips and tricks video. I hope you got something out of it, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.